Too?
Yep. It's like you're trapped in the jungle behind enemy lines, and you're just a survival machine in that sense.
You are indeed, yeah.
That's Mr. Nuts.
Actually, you told me earlier that after writing that book, somebody wanted to make a movie about it.
Oh, yeah.
Action! Hi guys, and welcome back to the 30-day challenge. So John, some years ago you were diagnosed with GBS, and luckily you recovered and are well today. Actually, I wonder, how was your family affected by your diagnosis?
Well, how do you think? I mean, I have a wife and then two children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the main guy with a job, and yeah, all of a sudden that's out. We just bought a house and moved in. All of a sudden, oh my goodness, everything is on hold, unstopped. And my wife was very diligent, driving to the hospital to visit me and taking care of two young kids, and then going to the clinic, which is like a 45-minute drive, and very supportive and so forth. But definitely, she was it was quite a burden on her. And all I was usually the one doing all the administration, the paperwork, and so she's trying to recover as best she can. I'm trying to say, well, try this, try that, and it's not there. And I'm a software guy. I had my laptop there, and the place where I was working there kept calling her. I was in intensive care. Like, can you ask John where that the documents? What's the command that you typed? Oh, you cannot call the guys in the intensive care. Well, okay, fine. Again, can you just ask him? Is it variable number 5 or is it file number 7? Didn't he document it? He documents everything. Didn't you document it? Yeah, but I don't want to read the stuff. Read what he wrote. Yeah, well, can't you just ask him? No, I can't ask him. You go read your documentation. Damn it. Okay, man. I'm going to give you a hard time. My husband's in the hospital. That's a good dying. Don't tell me about reading documentation. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of stresses.
But that really makes you ask, like, what's important in life? Is it like some kind of business question that somebody might have for some problem somewhere in the world? Or is it your health, right? I would probably argue the health is much more important than anything in business.
Well, it's yeah, I know, and you're right about that. But it's in fact, it's that's a digital condition. It's binaries, a yes or a no, it's a this or that. In fact, it's actually an analog, or if you don't like analog, the human term for analog is it's a shade of gray. It's not black and white. It's a shade of gray. It's things are involved as well in dependencies. You can't just ignore the realities of life. Well, if I could, I would, but yeah, they have a way of catching up with you whether you're sick or healthy or not.
Yep. So actually, you're not only a coder and a survivor of GBS, you're also an author.
Oh yeah, I wrote a book about this, an amusing story. Yeah,
Laughing all the way. So I read your book. It's very inspirational, actually. Like you're describing your full story in detail.
And how I could laugh at all the points, the humorous points, the ironic points, the humorous points. Yeah, there is, having survived it, I can laugh about it. There's a lot of amusing points that I found along the way, especially with doctors telling me this, someone telling me that, and me stumbling along, making my own way through things. Yeah, there was a lot of amusing ironies in the whole thing, and I decided to write an amusing story about it because I like amusement, and I like to describe things in humorous ways.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's actually very entertaining. I can only recommend everyone to read it. So, John, how can actually people get their hands on this book?
It's self-published by Lulu. Mm-hmm. Go to lulu.com and look it up. It's cheap. It's like $5.
All right.
Like the minimum it would cost, and they print it up for you and they send it to you.
We'll put the link down in the description, so if you want to check it out, have a look. It's really good stuff. So, anything else? One question I want to ask you. You said sometimes you have an issue with your feet, that they might be not lifting off the ground. Do you have any other residual symptoms from GBS? Are you fully recovered?
Yeah, well, my face muscles don't always work as they used to, and my mouth is not symmetrical in the muscles. I have more muscle control going up and down than back and forth. So sometimes it's kind of difficult to really eat as I would be. Would be used to. It's just something you get used to. It's not really a problem. Some people are just simply born that way, but it's it's one of these just one of these things you learn to live with. But fortunately, for the most part, like my eyes close. Actually, it's kind of interesting that one of the original problems I had is the first onset of the symptoms, I couldn't close my eyes. I didn't realize this because I tried to close my eyes, the lids are half closed, but my eyeballs automatically roll upwards. So it seems to me it's getting dark. It seems to me they're closing, but they aren't. It took that first doctor to recognize you got a problem, because that's where it hit me first, in my facial muscles. And as a result, because they weren't closing, my eyes get really dry, and that's really bad for your eyes. They can dry out. I never had a vision problem. That's your central nervous system. There never any problems there, but the eyes drying because they couldn't close, and so they had to put drops in them and these masks, and as a result, and there's a whole other story about the vitamin A overdose. Geez, that was a weirdness. But anyway, as a result, after my muscles came back, my eyes work fine now. They close and open, but somehow they overcompensate. Somehow they tear too much. I often have a lot of eye tearing just naturally to get them wet, and I think somehow my eyes overreacted to come back from it, just to keep them moist. And so I have a lot of extra tear fluid in my eyes, which is healthy. They don't dry out. That's really good. But it's sort of it took some getting used to. Like, this is strange. Why are my eyes always wet? But yeah, they're just producing tears, which is good. I mean, it keeps them wet. But sometimes I just have to dry my eyes without realize it. It's sort of funny. Like, John, why are you? Well, I just got a few extra tears.
But actually, if you hadn't said anything about your missing smile, I wouldn't have noticed. I mean, I got to know you after you were recovered, but I wouldn't have noticed that you had this illness.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I know it's not so obvious, but there are some things. And my feet as well. I often, I mean, sometimes get little tingling sensations in my feet, but it's past the point of really being painful. It's just sort of, if I just think about it, it's sometimes there. And I just want to be careful to try to always pick up my feet, because if I go running in the woods, I'm really prone to tripping on roots. I really don't want to do that, because I'm not always sure my feet are really going to lift up fully. They look good enough. It's not really a danger, but if I'm just not thinking or get sort of tired, it's possibly I can trip. But other people can do it too, having never had any such illness. That's certainly common, so it's not really a big deal. I just take caution, and I often go running. I wear running gloves, just in case I do. I can.
That's why.
Yeah. Just
Cool.
in case. I just want to protect myself in case I trip and fall, because I do go running, and I'll go in the forest as well.
Absolutely. Actually, one question I want to ask you about the recovery process. How did the whole illness affect your mood? Were you always, let's say, positive, laughing all the way, or did you have times where you were really down and frustrated and thought you would never walk again, or drink a beer again? Some doctors told you that you would never drink a beer again, right?
Oh, that was fun. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, some of the doctors are. I mean, I must say that the medical establishment really, really helped me for sure. And some doctors were better than others, and some were you're just a cog in the machine. I mean, it's a machine. The hospital's also a machine. The medical industry is a machine. The nurses, some were certainly quite good. Some were just absolute bureaucrats. Some were. What's that song by Pink? I'm gonna run as fast as I can. Like she's trapped in a place. I want to call the nurse. I can tell you stories. But anyway, so you talk about mood. It was how would I say it? I guess it really puts your perspective into focus. You think about, I wouldn't necessarily say you think about who you are. I mean, it wasn't actually really dying, and it didn't. At no point did it ever really seem like I was about to die. I didn't really. It wasn't that bad. It just seems like, well, this is miserable, and the rest of my life is going to be spent like walking through molasses. And I start to realize like how I think, how I look at things. Like, well, how am I going to get through it? What am I going to do next? It's like, I'm always calculating, processing. What am I going to do? What's next? What's going on here? How can I do this? If I do this, and I can do this, it's always like this. And what's up with here? And how can I get by? And what's going on here? It's always, for me, it's like I realize like I'm treating it like an adventure or like a mission. I'm going to go through. I'm going to try that. Yeah, what's going on here? I read a lot and researched this whole thing. I bet you I can do this. I bet you. I just watched myself. It's like I'm just a survival machine in that sense. And,
you are indeed. Yeah.
It's like you're trapped in the jungle behind enemy lines, and how are you going to get out? You can do this. That's what I felt like. It's sort of like like an adventure, sort of. What am I going to do?
Yeah, it must have been a crazy journey. But I find it very inspiring that you actually, against all odds, were still going on and actually researching your own condition and actually proving doctors wrong, right? With some wrong diagnosis.
Well, it wasn't so much proving it. It's more, I mean, in some sense, you could say that. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but not too much. But it's more a matter of you're in a field of uncertainty, which is life. And, sometimes there's probabilistic ones, there's guesses, there's intelligent guesses is based on this. But, sometimes when it's your own self at stake, you want to say, I can see where you're going to, but I'm not going to follow your route, because maybe that's what you would say, not knowing me in a statistical sample of you see 100 guys and this is what you generally do. I get it here, so I'm going to take exception. I'm going to go off this path because I think for me it's going to go here, and I can. And it turns out that more often I was actually correct in my assessment. So I won't necessarily say I'm proving it wrong. It's just it's uncertainty, and you got to know. You want to get a feel for when you want to step out of the statistics. When you no longer want to be a statistic, you say, I'm taking this path. And I'm sure you have your moments too, and there's all sorts of other ways and medicinal areas of recommendations, advice, do this, get this shot, go do there, and you can say for yourself, well, yes, or well, no, or well, maybe, and there are reasons for it. I mean, not everyone fits there's no such thing as a perfect person, and the statistical profile is like you have an imaginary person for whom this applies, but you got to consider there's a lot of them there. It's basically dealing with uncertainty and having good judgment for yourself about when you would want to try something else.
So, John, on my channel, I'm talking a lot about motivation and mindset. So, do you have any motivational tips or inspiration to tell to our audience today, maybe based on GBS, on your recovery process, that you benefit from today?
Well, again, yes, I could come up with a few, but then again, that puts me in the same position of being the doctor giving general advice to a statistical audience for whom it may or may not apply. So, and there's a wide variety of audiences there as well. So, I've had feedback from my stories from various people. Some of them think it's very motivational, inspirational. For people who give that feedback, I say yes, and I go for it. And let's talk about the motivational part as well. For others who have detailed questions about this and this, I say, well, there's technical parts here. Consider these points like this, and I'd go into more technical description. If you have, for people who are relatively self-confident and are faced with a wave of uncertainty, I could say trust in yourself, because you probably know your good judgment, and go with what you believe. That's true, but that wouldn't apply to everybody. Some people have no idea what their judgment is, and it's like, oh help, what am I going to do? Then I would say, things aren't that bad. Try to look on the bright side. And when I was in there in the hospital recovering, of course I had a lot of sympathy from my friends around, yes, but I hear other stories from other friends that, oh, my friend's just dying of cancer, he died. It's like, I didn't die, but I have sympathy for them as well. So that sort of advice wouldn't apply. They have to do something else for a situation like that. And coming in and saying John is having this recovery adventure, like my friend's just dying. What am I going to say? I can give good advice. I can give advice, but how does it apply and to who and whatever? So yeah, I would say take it as inspiration. And take note that sometimes you trust in yourself a bit. It could pay off. Of course, it could feel miserably, but
It definitely is. Well, after reading your book, actually, it inspired me a lot to pull through, to never stop believing in yourself.
Well, good for you.
Until you reach your goals.
Well, how about that? Well, very good. Well, I'm good. I'm glad. I'm glad to benefit.
Actually, you told me earlier that after writing that book, somebody wanted to make a movie about it.
Oh, one of my Hasher friends down in Milan. He was he always thought of me as having interesting adventure. Oh, he was quite psyched. And his girlfriend, his father was a neurologist, and he asked me, he's like, oh yeah, this is right. And he's like, yeah, because I read in a comical style. He's a comical guy. He's like, yeah, we got to make a movie. Got to be Italian. You did this. You did such a movie. Let's do this. We're gonna, I could be the guy. Like, okay, whoa, dude, I wouldn't even know how to make a movie. Or well, if you have some inspiration, I guess I could try, but I'm not sure I would really make a good comical Italian actor myself. I guess I could advise, but I was inspired. I wasn't sure how to proceed, but he really wanted to go with it.
To play you in the movie?
I guess that guy who sings that funny song, what's the matter you? Got you no respect, things are not so bad. It's a happy place. Shut up your face. That's the guy who would play me.
That's amazing. All right, that was a good closing word. Well, John, thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today. And guys, if you want to ask any questions, please put them down in the comments, and I will forward them to John, or you can answer them directly yourself if you want.
Ask away.
Alrighty, let's do it like that. So, John, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Wishing you all the best.
So far,
And
so
see you
good.
soon.
In fact, we're right here.